everyone. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. This episode comes with a parental advisory, so if you're listening to it with children around, you may want to hit pause. We're talking today about sex degradation, what happens when boundaries disappear. There was a disturbing article in The Atlantic recently about the rise of the practice of choking during sex, the habit where one partner, usually the male, will strangle his female partner during sex in an effort to increase pleasure. It's a really disturbing trend that is on significant rise among high school and college students, and of course, people in that age bracket. The article in The Atlantic is disturbing, but it's also clarifying. It's interesting to see not just that this trend is on the rise, but why. The article does a good job of tracing that choking has been prevalent in pop culture now for some time, citing shows like Showtime's Californication or HBO's Euphoria, The Idol, even a song by hip-hop artist Jack Harlow, which features the practice of choking. And the article is saying that these things that happen in pop culture are not benign. They're happening in pop culture because they're happening in the world, and around we go. People see them, they hear them, and they get curious about them. So that probably, if you talk to someone who's single, in their 20s especially, they've heard of this practice. They have friends who are participating in it, maybe even participating in it themselves. And the thing is, it's not just disturbing because we're prudish, it's disturbing because it's actually damaging. In fact, there was a researcher in the Indiana University School of Health who actually said the neurological effects of choking during sex are actually similar to that of CTE, which is the condition that NFL players have been getting from having too many concussions. Just let that roll over you for a second. And the thing is, young people know this. Researchers also suggest that one reason that sexual activity is on decline among teenagers is actually fear for their physical safety, that kids are saying they're not sure that sex will be safe for them, and so they aren't having it. And of course, this is also connected to the viewing of pornography, which is progressively more and more violent, more and more consumer-centric, helping us to see people as objects instead of people made in the image of God. And I just want to make a simple point here and then apply it to a variety of people. The Bible makes clear that when God made the world, he made it good. And under the umbrella of the world that God made and declared good was human sexuality. In Genesis 1, God says to all the people that he's made that they should be fruitful and multiply. He has in mind that they should have sex and have children. In Genesis 2, Adam and Eve are naked and without shame. They are told to leave they are the template for leaving their families and cleaving together. That is a sexual reference to becoming one. God made sex. God has declared sex good. Christians shouldn't be afraid of sex or sexuality or prudish about it at all. But the thing is, in Genesis 3, when the serpent shows up, he sells the lie that goodness doesn't come from submission to God's authority. Goodness is found outside of God's authority. He tells Adam and Eve that God is not for them, but against them, not out for them to flourish, but out to limit and inhibit them. And the thing is, we believed that lie, not just in the garden, but for thousands of years after. We have believed that if we give our sexuality to God, he will cause it to wither. We will not be sexually fulfilled. We will not be happy. In fact, we'll end up lonely and alone and unfulfilled. But what we see here in this is yet another example that Satan lied, that when we step outside the authority of God, we don't find happiness. And one of the ways you know that is because we continue to push the envelope of sexuality. We continue to look for more and different ways because we have not yet found true fulfillment. So the thinking goes, if having multiple sexual partners doesn't fulfill me, maybe looking at pornography will. If that doesn't work, maybe choking my partner will, for me or for them. The right response to an absence of sexual fulfillment is to return back to God, is to say, God, I'm sorry that I believed the lie, that true fulfillment was found outside of your authority, that you're the maker and giver of sex. You know how it works best. Christians have to begin to believe and then to articulate that submission to God's authority in the arena of sex leads to more happiness, not less. And I do mean that we need to believe it and then articulate it. Because the truth is, we may not be participating in the practice of choking, but sexual degradation goes a lot of different directions. All of us have been guilty of looking for fulfillment outside the authority of God. We need to allow the gospel of Jesus to show us the heart of God, that God is for us, not against us, to return in submission. But then as we do that, we call our neighbors not just to obedience, not just to repentance and to surrender, but to true flourishing. The world in the sexual sense is becoming a scary place, and it will be until we return to the authority and goodness of God. Let's let this article and others like it be a call for us personally and then corporately to return back to God's authority and to true sexual fulfillment. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to get future content from Wake Up Lookup and from Christ Community Chapel. And while you're here, check out the other videos we have available.